Fred's Car Race. It was early October, and Fred was looking at the morning newspaper. Suddenly, something brightened his eyes. "Hey, Valerie, look at this," he said. "In a few days, they're going to have a real Derby car race. I might qualify for this competition, and if I win, I might earn the first place trophy and respect, even when I'm on TV."
I think you might have a chance of winning the upcoming race.
Agreed Valerie.
Of course, some people might be unqualified because they'll cheat or if their cars are too small to participate. But you know what, honey? I think you have nothing to worry about.
"Thank you, Valerie," said Fred. "You have my word." Off Fred goes to the speedway for a chance to race, and it's only a few miles away. At last, Fred noticed the humongous speedway sign, and he followed it to that destination, then parked in the parking lot, hoping he'll be accepted for the race. But what about the other racers? Unknown to Fred, a little ant named Denflick was hiding behind the speedway sign. When Fred passed by Denflick on his way to the speedway, Denflick was really surprised.
Holy racing
She cried.
That guy and his car are going to the speedway for a race. Is that a car with wings? Is that Carrie's dad? Oh my. And what is his name? Fred? Yeah, that's it, Fred.
Then Denflick had an idea.
What if I make a racing car myself? That way, the race instructor will accept me as one of the racers. I gotta get to work right away. But who is this speedway race instructor? I have never been to this place before.
This is the official Speedway racing instructor. He's cool, and he likes racing cars ever since he was little. He can accept races with cars that have correct sizes but not too small. If the cars don't match the race instructor's requirements, the race car driver or drivers will not be eligible to race with the others. In other words, automatic disqualification, even when they cheat and disrespect the rules. All the racers need is to play fair and to have respect. "I command this speedway open for business," announced the race instructor. "Now, who wants to go first?" Denflick wanted to be in the race with the others, so he brought his own race car. The race instructor looked at Denflick's car, but he shook his head and said, "It's a nice car, Denflick, but I'm afraid you and your car are way too small,"
So small!
gasped Denflick. "Yes," replied the race instructor. "If I let you in the race, all the cars will squish you and your car. I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to ask you to leave. You are disqualified,"
Squished! Disqualified!
complained Denflick angrily.
Listen to me! It's not fair! I just.
"Ah, ah, ah," interrupted the race instructor. "Take your complaining elsewhere and have a nice day. Goodbye." Denflick sighed and said,
Fine!
then he left. Stella Led, the high school comedian, came along and said,
Hi, you must be the Speedway racing instructor. My name is Stella Led, and I love telling jokes. Do you want me to hear a racing joke?
No thank you, Stella Led, the race instructor replied. "I'd rather hear jokes in my own spare time with you. Racing for real life is not a joke. I see you don't have a race car. Can you tell me why?" he asked.
I'm still in high school.
Said Stella Led.
My mom and dad won't let me drive a car until I'm a little older, so I'm not allowed to compete in this car race.
"Now that I understand," said the race instructor. Okay, you could sit in the audience with your parents and your little brother. Enjoy yourself. Meanwhile, Denflick was in a very bad mood because his car was not the correct size for the speedway competition. So he ended up sitting with the audience at the speedway seating area.
That's not fair.
He yelled sternly.
I worked so hard on making my own race car for the competition, the racing instructor disqualified me due to the hazardous condition. My racing car and myself being squashed by a lot of big racing cars. On the other hand,
He said calmly after taking a few deep yoga breaths.
the instructor did warn me about what would happen if I entered the race. Maybe it's best if I sit back and relax. Nothing can go wrong now, I think.
But Denflick spoke too soon. Stella Led was finding a perfect seat for her family until she saw Denflick sitting down.
Oh no.
He sighed.
Hello.
Stella Led cried in excitement. Then she looked at Denflick.
My, what a cute little blue ant you are. I'm Stella Red. Who are you? Excuse me, Stella Red, but I am not in the mood. I wanted to enter the race with my very own race car that I made by myself, but the racing instructor says that my car is way too small for the competition, so he disqualified me due to the hazardous prediction. Me and my car will get squashed by other big cars if I entered the race. That's why I ended up here, taking a seat just like other people who wanted to watch the race. Oh, pardon me. Where are my manners? My name is Denflick. Nice to meet you, Denflick.
Said Stella Led.
Say, I got something to cheer you up. Do you know any good jokes? No.
Replied Denflick.
In fact, I never told jokes to anyone before. Well, Denflick, would you like to hear a joke from me? I don't want to hear it, but go ahead anyway, Stella Red. Okay, get this. What happened to the participant who failed to enter the race? I don't know. What happened? His aunt was really angry.
Stella Led laughed, but Denflick did not.
Huh? That's not a joke, Stella Red. It makes no sense whatsoever. Maybe you have an aunt. She would really laugh a lot. But I don't have an aunt,
Snapped Denflick.
and I can't afford to adopt one. What would my mom and dad would say if I bought an aunt? I think they would say that you got plenty of family members, so you don't need an aunt.
Replied Stella Led.
Exactly.
Said Denflick.
I was
Just then, Stella Led's mom called.
Stella Red. Could you come over here, please? We saved a seat for you. Coming, Mom. I gotta go, Denflick.
She said.
Have fun watching the race. Okay. Goodbye, Stella Red.
Sighed Denflick in disappointment. Another driver from the parking lot came to see the racing instructor. It was a rare blue frog. Hey, said the race instructor, what is that frog doing here? Don't you belong in the pond? Who are you? I'm Elliot, and I would like to participate in this speedway race. I see. Have you ever raced before? The race instructor asked. No, said Elliot, but I did see the race car competitions on my own TV set in the shape of a frog. How did you? It's a long story, interrupted Elliot. Well, said the race instructor, it is a very nice car, and it is the correct size. Then he paused for a moment. Okay, you're in. Just try to be flexible. Thank you, said Elliot. You won't be sorry. I just hope I never see another rare blue animal again, the race instructor said to himself. But he was wrong. Another blue animal has shown up. The race instructor screamed and said, "Ah! Maybe I spoke too soon. Who are you? Please allow me to introduce myself. I happen to be a friend of Elliot the Blue Frog. My name is Dizzy." Dizzy? The race instructor was confused. Are you actually Dizzy? No! Dizzy is my actual name, he laughed. Oh, okay, said the race instructor, who was no longer confused. I get it now. Your name is Dizzy. Can you show me your car? As a rare blue fox, I certainly will, Dizzy replied, and showed the race instructor the correct sized car just like Elliot. The race instructor was surprised, but also impressed. Wonderful! I'll put you on the list. Oh, thank you. You won't be sorry, cried Dizzy. Good luck, called the race instructor, and don't get too dizzy. Then another animal came over, and it was a different color. Phew, said the race instructor. For a moment, I thought you were another rare blue animal. But no, you're just a different color. Who are you? A chameleon? That's correct. I'm a chameleon who changes into different colors like white, brown, green, gray, or even blue. Right now, I'm a gray chameleon. My name is Marvin. Nice to meet you, Marvin, said the race instructor. One quick question. Do you have a car with you? Actually, no, I don't have a car with me, Marvin answered. As a matter of fact, if I go near my own car, everything will change color, even me. That would be distracting, and I might have an accident. So I'd rather pass. I understand, said the race instructor. Okay, Marvin, good idea. You could sit with the audience. Seeing more people not participating in the race because they were disqualified and or not old enough made Denflick very cross.
I can't believe it.
He snapped.
No entry to other speedway racers, and they're going to sit with the other people in the auditorium? This is.
Hey, calm down, Denflick, interrupted a voice. It was Marvin. I know how you feel, he said. I didn't bring a car with me because I'm a chameleon. Every car part I touch, everything changes color. Denflick took deep yoga breaths. And then asked Marvin,
Really? That's distracting.
You're right, Marvin replied. I didn't want to risk it because I might cause an accident,
I understand.
Denflick said sadly. Meanwhile, Valerie and her daughter Kiri had just taken the reserved speedway seats so that they could see Fred in a better point of crow viewing quality,
Oh boy, Mom.
exclaimed Kiri.
It's my dad's first time racing at the speedway. I hope you win. Me too.
Valerie agreed.
We're all going to be rooting for your daddy. The race will be starting soon, so let's be patient. Okay, Mom.
Said Kiri, and they waited. After the participants had entered the speedway race, except for some who were disqualified because they did not meet the requirements, the race starter made the announcement. Ladies, gentlemen, and animals of all ages, welcome to the Speedway competition. Get ready for loads of racing fun. Then he turned to the racing contestants. Racers, before you take your cars to the starting line, there are important rules that you must follow. This will be a 3-lap race. You're allowed to go 50 miles per hour or less speed because 50 miles per hour is the speed limit. Any racer caught speeding over the speed limit will result in disqualification. Also, cheating is not allowed, nor crashing, nor road rage, nor phone calling, nor eating food in the car, nor showing off, nor wasting time. That's all the rules there is. Racers, good luck. Please get your cars in the starting line and start your engines. All the drivers were in their racing cars, and the race was about to start. 3, 2, 1, go! Yelled the race starter. And they're off! The racers were going along smoothly and steadily. Everyone was going 25 miles per hour or under. But Denflick was not happy.
You call that a race?
He scoffed.
They're all slowing down. Where are they going to pass?
Then he yelled,
Come on! What are you waiting for? Go fast!
but no racers had heard Denflick. They were too busy racing at normal speed, especially Fred. Stellaled heard the angry yelling from Denflick.
Excuse me.
She said to her family.
I need to go see Denflick right away. It sounds like he's very cross. I'll be right back. Please save my seat for me.
Stellaled rushed over, and her family saved her seat once again. When Stellaled saw Denflick again, she cried,
What's going on? What are you doing?
I'm trying to make these cars go fast.
complained Denflick.
That's not how things work.
Said Stellaled sternly.
You can't yell angrily at the race car drivers to go at full speed. Besides, they can't hear you. And they're too busy concentrating. This is a special speedway race.
What? A special speedway race? There's nothing special about the speedway.
Said Denflick.
Yes, there is.
Stellaled replied.
You know when you go too fast over the speed limit?
Yes.
Well, you would be in big trouble.
Big trouble?
Gasped Denflick. He didn't like the sound of that.
Yes, Denflick, you would hear the police siren from the distance, and the policeman would ask you to pull over in an angry tone as you approach a dead end. When you stop the car and pull over with no escape to think of, the policeman will give you a speeding ticket and you have to pay a fine. Life will be tough for yourself because if you don't have enough money to pay for this urgent speeding ticket, guess where you'll end up in?
Where?
Prison. And it won't be pretty.
Warned Stellaled.
What? No, 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 I don't want to go to prison.
Sobbed Denflick.
I gotta live my whole life. If I throw the banana peel on the speedway road, that would be polluting. All the cars will slip and crash, and it'll be entirely my fault. Then the police will come find me, arrest me, and take me behind bars. I'll be stuck with my phone, Jeff Brad, and he'll get back at me, which is no fun.
Then don't throw the banana peel.
Explained Stellaled.
Just put it in the trash bin right near you.
And that's what Denflick did.
Phew, that was a relief.
He said.
It was a good thing you warned me, Stellaled. Otherwise, I would have been a common criminal and ended up in prison with Jeff Brad, who was already in there.
Why, thank you, Denflick.
said Stella Led.
You know, for a little ant, I'm really proud of you for listening to me as an obvious good reason. But the next time you do something wrong, say for instance, littering, and not control your temper, I will come over right away and I'll stop you. Is that clear?
Yes,
Denflick sighed.
definitely clear. I promise, Stellan.
That's a good ant. Instead, why don't you root for the racers?
Great idea.
Said Denflick.
I shall indeed.
No need to let anyone down. And so he did. Stella Led returned to her seat where she belongs. During the race, Elliot's car and Dizzy's car bumped into each other, but it wasn't an incidental crash. Elliot and Dizzy rolled their windows down, and when they saw each other, they said in a happy tone, "Hello." Elliot and Dizzy did not know what else to say. Just then, a car was right behind Elliot and Dizzy. "Hey guys," came a voice. It was Fred and his spectacular flying car. "I don't mean to interrupt your conversation already, but this is a competition. If you keep chatting, and if you're not looking where you're going, you might end up in the disastrous crash and get injured. That wouldn't be a good thing. And then I would drive or fly to the hospital right after the race." Okay, we understand," Dizzy agreed. "We'll keep our eyes on the racetrack," added Elliot. "No matter what?"
No matter what.
said Dizzy and Elliot. "Good," said Fred. "That's what I like to hear. Now, if you'll excuse me, I got a race to win. Best of luck and stay out of trouble."
You got it, Fred.
said Dizzy and Elliot. "How did you know my name? Are you Dizzy and Elliot?"
Yep.
And Fred drove away. After 2 laps, Fred did very well in the race. He made a couple of pit stops just to make sure his car doesn't break. As for some of the racers, their cars have been blown. That means there was something wrong with the engines and or the tires were blown out. Either way, some racers should have headed to the pit stop in order to get their cars examined and have the old engines and or the tires replaced with new ones. Fred was in first place and was getting closer and closer to the finish line with no trouble at all. And then he made it! "Fred has won the Speedway race!" cried the announcer. "Wow, what a great sport he is!" In fact, he made sure that Dizzy and Elliot were staying in the race before their cars crashed into smithereens. "Give Fred a hand, folks!" And everybody did, including Stella Led and Denflick. Fred was really proud of himself for winning, being a good sport, and helping other racers. Fred had the first place trophy, and he said to everyone, "This is the best race I ever won." When you work in a normal way without any accidents or carelessness, you're a winner after you finish the race first like I did. Otherwise, you would lose and or end up being disqualified from competition. All you have to do next time, for some of you racers, is to race safely. Thank you. Back at home, Valerie was so proud of Fred, and she said to him,
Congratulations, Fred. I knew you'd won the race with no trouble at all.
"Thanks, Valerie," said Fred. "My own car with wings really did the trick. One day during the next racing season, I'll be able to win again no matter what. But right now, I'm going to relax, watch other car races on TV, and do other things whenever I like." And that's just what he did. Way to go, Fred.